Good morning and welcome to Company Culture with Yvette C. Owens, where we explore the behaviors of organizations and even you as an individual, how that helps people to perceive you. I always say people will remember how you leave them feeling far more than what you are delivering to them, and whether they come back determines how well you treat them. And so we should be very conscious of the culture, the environment we're creating around us and in our spaces. I have the privilege this morning of having with me my new friend from South Africa, Juanita Cap. She is a wonderful person. She is a speaker. I'm just going to share some things about you. She's a pastor, a public speaker for 15 years. She has her master's degree in theology. She is a writer, and is embarking upon her own book now. She has many broadcasts, and which I've had the privilege of being on her broadcast, and she shared her platform with me. She's just an amazing, amazing, amazing person who has overcome so many things. And so I want to invite Juanita to join me in this conversation about being professionally authentic, because I find that she does it so well. And when I was thinking about who could be in, how I could engage her in a really strong conversation, that topic immediately came to my mind. So I want to share my friend with you, Juanita Cap. Juanita, thank you for joining me.
Good day, Yvette and audience. My goodness, it's such a wonderful, wonderful blessing to be able to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your platform.
Thank you. And tell us more about you and your experiences. And am I reading it right that you are professionally authentic and you kind of got this thing down? And so you can share with me through your experiences and through with the audience more about yourself. How do you come to this topic?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. When I saw the topic that you chose, I thought, my goodness, that is just amazing because it's something that I've really worked, on over the last 15 years. You will know that you are also in the corporate space. You're also in the spiritual space, involved with your church and everything that you do. You are a very dynamic person. So you are busy with a lot of things because you have the talent to do so. And in the last 15 years, I have been a full-time pastor, but I've also been in the corporate world. I've always made sure that I have multiple streams of income. So I always made sure I stay abreast of all the movements in the corporate world. I always made sure that I focus on personal and professional development. And I've seen a few things in my time in the ministry as well as in the corporate world. And I have to say, more often than not, there was no authentic leadership. And it's only when you really get confronted with what is wrong in that sphere that you learn how it really should be. So for me, development has been very important. I have tried my best to stay on top of the movements. And I would love to say that, authentic leadership is not a level that you just reach. It's a level that you have to work for as the culture changes, as the movements change, as the world changes. And that's what I love about you. I had you on Meticulous Moments, and I could see you are so amazing at what you do. Your integrity shines through. We had a phenomenal session. People were contacting me and complimenting me on our session, and it was just so lovely for us to have that heart to heart because we really see and feel things in the same manner. Authentic leadership is actually, I would say, a developing a field of science at the moment, because they are having a lot of problems in the corporate world where people feel they don't have a psychological space where they can, just share with what they are going through at home. And therefore, they bring whatever is wrong at home to the workplace. And of course, that's to the detriment of the whole company.
Right, right. That is so true. And then there's things that are happening in the workplace, right? That's
Yeah.
contributing to that and piling on it. And if we don't allow people to be able to be free, now again, there's that balance. How do I become authentic?
Yeah.
Because, in each of us, there's the great, good, bad, and ugly, right? And so
Oh,
we got
yes.
to be self aware and therefore self controlled, knowing who we really are so that and it really starts with self-identity, right?
Yeah.
So that our self-identity, being aware of who we are, good, bad, great, ugly.
Yeah.
um, and then we are
Love that.
self-controlled in any environment, and that helps us to get closer to that professional authenticity
Yeah.
that we're looking for, right? And I think
Absolutely.
sometimes people think when you add the word professional on top of it, now you're diminishing the authenticity piece of it. No, we all should be, as you so eloquently stated,
Yeah.
evolving to a greater self, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
when you think about, there's so many different agendas in the workplace, right? So many groups saying, okay, I'm going to be authentic, I'm coming out, I'm going to do me. How
Yeah.
do we create that environment where um, there's more balance? Because I think organizations trying to really accommodate new movements and new things coming along, then kind of, it tips the
Yeah.
scale one way or the other. But how do we all get to that bridge and that point where everybody's voice matters and we can all
Mhm.
manage every voice at the same time equally? How do
Yeah.
you say that?
I love your question. That's an excellent question. And that is really something that, corporations have to look at. I mean, it does take, like you've mentioned, a certain level of self-awareness to be able to realize that we are not perfect. We are never going to be perfect, no matter if we have the best experience or if we have the highest level of education. We will still, as the Bible says in Philippians 1 verse 6, God will work in us until Jesus comes back for us. And that's no
Right.
different in the church than it is in the corporate world. That's a wonderful intertwinement that we find there. I think the problem in corporations, they stick to the normal old fashioned, and there's nothing wrong with being old fashioned, but they stick to the normal old fashioned way. It's all about the business plan, it's all about the board report, it's all about our projections for the year, it's all about our hard skills, where people start lacking superpower skills, which are called soft skills, and
Mm-hmm.
they develop the hard skills so much that they don't develop emotionally, they don't develop the emotional intelligence it takes to realize that you need to do introspection, introspection, introspection to be able to see your flaws, like you mentioned, to work effectively in a team. Now, what I think corporations should do is there should be a balance in the cultivating of these areas of the business world, because we go to work and yes, we have to have the board reports. My goodness, we have to run the business. We
Right.
have to have the projections because we have our budget. But what happens in the team when we face a difficulty?
Mm-hmm.
What happens in the team when we have that obstacle? Then the experience and the qualifications are not going to help us if we don't know how to navigate through the emotional side of it. If we don't know how to navigate and work with people with different personalities. So
Right.
in real estate, we always say it's all about location, location, location. That's the thing we say.
Right.
But in business, I feel it has to be introspection, introspection, introspection. There has to be a team morale. There has to be a team spirit. Because then, if you face an obstacle, all that knowledge and all that education comes together in unity, and everybody grows and everything pans out the way that the company wants it to pan out.
Yeah, and that's so, so powerful, that introspective, because that again gets back to self-identity, self-awareness,
Yep.
self-control, right? Um, and the other thing that as you were talking, resonates with me is, well, some leaders might say, okay, I have the business piece down. I went to school for it. I got my master's, da da da. But nobody's really taught me the emotional piece for it. And what if it's
Mhm.
too risky for me? What if I'm not able to really handle that side of it? How would you advise someone to start to take the steps towards being more open to that emotional side? I don't think it's as hard as people think if they relate
Yeah.
it to their outside life, right? But how would
Mhm.
you advise someone in that area?
Absolutely. That is a wonderful question. Thank you so much. I noticed that before COVID, we used to have team buildings. And
Mhm.
what happens at the team building? We build trust
Right.
and we build relationship. And it's so important for any project manager, for any team leader to build trust, to build relationships so that that employee does not go so fearful to work on a Monday, so that that employee does not have a migraine on a Sunday night because they don't want to go into the Monday morning boardroom meeting. I mean, we've been there, Yvette.
Yes,
We've done
absolutely.
that. We've lived it.
For
But
sure.
if we build relationship, if we build trust, then psychologically they will feel more open to engage. Now, what I've noticed in the companies that I've worked with over the years, what they've employed is they actually bring in a counselor or a pastor to really facilitate that connection after COVID, because we are still in a hybrid state. We are not just going back to work, and we are not just online. It's kind of mixing. So what
Right.
I think that they've done right is they now have this facilitator. I was actually contracted in the COVID time to facilitate 80 employees and to, find out from them, are they coping with the stress? Are they getting on point with their work? How is their family going? How are the family matters? So I think that's a space they can move into to get someone that is qualified to be the bridge. If they don't want to say it at first to the manager themselves, be able to have someone that they feel they can approach, a pastor or a counselor, that can kind of mediate that between the manager and the employees.
Yeah, yeah. And for those who are listening, thank you for listening. Please share this. We are talking with my friend and speaker, coach, counselor, Pastor Juanita Cap, who is of Meticulous Moments. She has that her own platform, and she is just sharing her wisdom. And when we're talking about being authentic, professionally authentic,
Yeah.
I think we've kind of swung the pendulum too far to the left, where people are like, authentic means I can be just raw me, and it's like, yeah, no, not so much. There's a moment, place, and time for every piece of you.
Oh, yes.
And when we're interacting with anyone else, I mean, even if we're in our families, right, we need to
Yeah.
be willing to be thoughtful, be caring, and be loving with those around us, and our families. And we need to be open minded and have those same traits when we're dealing with people in the workplace, in our
Yeah.
ministries, in the community based organizations. We must
Yeah.
be respectful and be open to learning. And that's the piece that I think we have to first recognize, again, that self aware, that I might have some biases that I've lived with up until this point, but now the lid has been taken off of Pandora's box, right? And
Mhm.
everything's coming out of that box. And so now, how do I deal with these pieces that I kind of knew was there, but I had my own opinions, and it was like, yeah, okay, as long as you stay over there, I'm good. But now everything is coming front and center. Now, how can I
Yeah.
deal and receive every those things? Not receive meaning being acceptable of it, but being open to having
Yeah.
conversations around it. So, talk to us more about maybe a scenario where you learned more about how you've had to be more open, or you've seen where you're seeing a trend where people need to be more open and dealing with one another so that we
Yeah.
can create that healthy culture, if you will.
Yes, yes, I love that. And the word culture, in our country, I've always thought of it in a certain manner. It always represented to me, I'm Afrikaans and I have my Afrikaans culture, and then there are Xhosa people that they have their culture, and then the English. But I really came to know when I moved to the town that I live in Queenstown, that culture is really what something stands for, what a place stands for, what people stands for, the beliefs. It's more than just traditional dishes and traditional clothing. Culture is what we stand for. It's what we believe in and what we give over to the world. So when I moved to this town, I moved from a big city, and I suddenly realized that the culture in my town was much different than the culture was in the city. In the city, it is cold. In the city, it is corporate. I moved to this town, and it's more farmers. It is more, landscapers and people. So when I moved here, I had to learn the culture of my town before I could minister to the people in my congregation because my worldview was so much more different than theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is I immersed myself in their culture. I made a point to have appointments with them and learn how do they see the corporate world? How do they see the business world? Because I have businesses here as well. How do they see the spiritual world? How do they feel about family? And it's only because I did that, I immersed myself, that I started to say, oh, but now I'm connecting the dots. And when I understood the people, I knew how to work with them. I knew how to bring the knowledge and the experience because otherwise my approach wouldn't have worked. I cannot minister to them or work with them if I don't understand them. So my first thing that I always tell people is you always treat everybody with dignity. Yvette, and I know you do the same. I've rubbed shoulders with very important people in the world in fantastic buildings. I treat them exactly the same as I would treat someone that is in the shopping center mopping the floor of the mall. And I actually make a point of it to stop at that person that's doing a wonderful job cleaning the floor. And I always commend them and I say, thank you for mopping the floor of this.
Yeah.
Yes, because otherwise I wouldn't want to shop here. And I would have to travel far to do my shopping. But because of your excellence, here I can walk and I can do my shopping and I can smile. So dignity, treating people with dignity and showing them love and acceptance, even if they differ from us.
Right.
We say, you know what, I hear what you are saying. Let me go and think about it. Let me reframe that in my mind. Just being open. That's the only way we'll get to where we need to be.
Yeah, that is so, so powerful, and it definitely resonates with me as a part of in my book, No Bosses Allow, Lead to Serve and Transform. I have a section just on what you said. Every leader needs to be able to understand the community of the individuals that they're working with. And if I don't understand the community, I don't understand because people's community is important to them. And that's how you learn more about the individual. And when they know that you care about the community that they come from, then that means to them, translates to many people, you care about me. Because how do I really separate me from my community? And so if you just say to me, like often a person of color, somebody who thinks they're being complimentary says, oh, I don't see color. How can you not see color? And how do you see me? And then how do you not see my community of color and not understand that? But yet you understand me. So you're so right. Undergoing, especially like you're saying, going from that city environment, and now you're in more of a farm, smaller type of community. Understanding them, you can't do business with them well because you don't know their needs. And that's one of the basic things about business, right? Supply and demand. How are you going to supply what's demanding if you don't know what's demanding, right? And then the same thing with your ministry work. How do you meet those needs, and how do you help uplift people if you don't understand where they're struggling? So that is so, so, so powerful. And that is what I love about you, because you are in both spaces just like I am. And I have to be totally transparent. For a period of my career, my early years, I was struggling with, do I bring the spiritual piece of Yvette, which is really more of who I am than the professional, right? But do I leave that outside the corporate doors? Do I not use that language? Do I not reference that here? Or how do I bring it here and still not be offensive? Because, here in the United States, we have this separation of state and church and all that kind of, I think that's just so wrong, because that means I have to leave part of me behind. But I think you do that so well, regardless of, I've seen you both in professional places as well as, we've talked from a spiritual perspective, and you are Juanita in both places, and it's not overbearing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when we come into those spaces, we feel like we can't be our authentic self because I'm being overbearing from one place to the other. I can't go into the community talking, Fortune 500 language either, because they don't get it. but how do I relate to them, right? So
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
so powerful. That is so, so, so powerful. So talk about your
Thank you.
authenticity and how you what things lead you and motivate you as you go about your day, and do you go through that challenge ever of switching, feeling like you need to switch hats, and
Yeah.
how do you wrestle with that, how do you come to terms with that?
That is a very important question, and I believe that you were led to ask that question because it is a struggle and it isn't easy, and it is something that you grow into. When I just came into the ministry when I was a young pastor, you want to impress and you want to change the world, and I kind of just focused on the ministry, and I just focused on the spirituality of it. And I came to learn that I can't do that because it's not just I have to mix with people. I live in a world, I have to mix with people. So what I decided to do is just to maybe dish out, like you mentioned earlier, a little bit of myself as I went along. So I would bring in, because I'm a extroverted person. I love talking, I love people, I love community upliftment. So I just started to dish out a little bit of myself in each space. And then I started to connect the people that I knew in my spiritual space with the people in my business space, so that they would know each other, so that they would get us a complete idea of who I am and what I stand for. So when I do business with people here, when I go out and I do business, they know I am the pastor, but they know when we are in a business meeting, I'm not going to now preach to them, but they know my morals and my values because they've seen me moving in the ministerial space. So what I did when I came here, obviously everybody heard, oh my goodness, there's this pastor coming here from the city, and they didn't know what to expect. I just started getting hands on with things. So I would take the paint and I would paint the church with everyone. And I would go out and we would mow the lawn together. So, everything that we would do. So then when I would go to business meetings, I would meet other business owners and they'd be like, oh, I saw what you did at the church. And what happens then? There's that immediate connection. And they would say, oh my goodness, we would love to donate paint, or we would love to come to your Women's Day functions. Also, what I did is I didn't only do spiritual functions at church. I would have a Women's Day. And I would invite women from all over town. Doesn't matter what religion they are, busy with. If they are there and they are open to mixing, because what do? We share, of course, the love of God with everyone. I would invite everybody from the corporate space, from the spiritual space, and we would have a wonderful Women's Day. And the third thing that I would do is I'd go out to the places, to the shops in the mall that are not there. There are staff there. I don't know if the audience knows, but in South Africa, there are staff in the malls that work 7 days a week,
Wow.
and they work in Mr. Price, or they work in a shop called Checkers. They work 7 days a week. They can't go to church. So
Mm.
what I did was on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings very early, I would take church to them.
Ah,
So I would take Bible study to them. And then they promised me if I did that, they would teach me one business principle. So
nice.
it was a give and take, and it was a learning process. So I think just getting involved, and getting hands on, very important. But everybody must probably strategize with something that resonates with them. In my case, in your case, we are in both fields,
Right.
and we have to find ways to connect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Our friend Alejandro is joining us. Good morning.
Hi,
Good morning. Thank
Alejandro.
you so much, Alejandro. Love, love, love that. Yes. And you being a pastor, that is so cool that you did that, and that you were able to understand that I can. It's I love when you said it's about my principles that I'm bringing forth, and that's really what I'm making sure that regardless of what environment I am, that I'm really bringing forth, and people really can experience. And I think that's what
Yeah.
people really need to understand, and we need to get back to when we talk about, to your point, the culture is what I believe. How do I act? What's important to me? And to me, it's those principles. We need to get back to reputable character that will leave a legacy behind for each one of us. I don't care what your position in an organization. Is my character leading people to want to compel to come to me, or is it repelling? Is my character that I'm exercising in that space one that is causing people to say, don't go back there again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you know what? I met this wonderful person. I went to this wonderful organization. I went to this great restaurant. They made me feel so comfortable. I
Yeah.
had to do business. I had to go through a contract, and the people were very understanding. They walked me through the process. It's because of their principles and their
Yes.
character that really helps people understand that. And I think that's so,
Love it.
and it has to be authentic, because people can see when
Mhm. Oh, yes.
it's not. People can see when it's not. This has been an excellent time. I so appreciate you being a part of this. I really, really hope that I think we're going to be able to see each other in October. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're coming here for the summit?
Oh, yes, for the CLA Summit. I've got my ticket. I'm hoping and praying I can make it because I have martial arts during that month. But God willing, I'll be in the same room with you amongst other wonderful CLA members. So I hope to see you soon. And I appreciate this platform. Thank you for sharing your heart, your love. Everything about you is just amazing and authentic. Thank you for sharing that with me and for being a part of my life. I appreciate you.
Thank you, thank you. So I am gonna store up a big old hug for you. The CLA we're both a part of the Connected Leadership Academy that was created by Jose Escobar, and it's just been an awesome experience for me. I know for Juanita as
Yes.
well. Great collaborations and things like that. So if if you want to know more about that, either one of us could share that as well. As we wrap this powerful time up together, Juanita, share with us what are you working on? Because I know we talked about as we were coming on the broadcast, the more you'll be busy, just be busy and you're going to do more, right? So
Yeah.
share with us what's on the horizon for you, what's in the works for you, what now do you have that you would like to share with people so that they can, and how can they connect with you? And I'll put your
Thank you.
connection information on the broadcast as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Absolutely phenomenal. Thank you. Let me tell you, I'm busy with so many things, and I've shared something with Yvette that I'll share with you. When I was in school, I was busy in the athletic space, I was busy in the artsy space, I was busy in the academic space, and my biology teacher came to me one day because he was also my hockey coach, and he looked at me and he said, Juanita, and I said, yes, sir. In Afrikaans, we say meneer. I said, ja, meneer. Yes, sir. And he said, I just want to say something to you. And I thought, oh, did I do something? And he looked at me and he said, the more you do, the more you can do. So he was basically just telling me, keep going, just do everything and enjoy life. And that's the principle that I bring into the ministry and the business and my personal life and my family. And at the moment, of course, true to that saying, true to that word he gave me, still 20 years later, and I'm giving away my age, I'm still busy with a lot of projects. So I'm ghostwriting at the moment. I'm also busy with my first book. I can't wait to bring my book out, for people to see behind the scenes in the ministry, just lessons that I've learned in business as well. And then, of course, I'm going to be hosting a Meticulous Moments masterclass soon for everybody that has a podcast and that aspire to have a podcast. So that's going to be announced soon as well. And then next year, I'm going to the Alma Business Bootcamp on 6 and 7 January, and it's going to be in New Jersey. I'm actually leaving in a few days. In 20 days, I'm flying to New Jersey. Going to be there before the event and after, and I'm just going to meet up with a few people as well. So that's a big thing for me. And then I have my Captor Connection conference coming up, the second one, which of course I'm in partnership with Alejandro, and we are going to host that on 24, 25, and 26 March next year. And then, of course, lastly, for now, the October Summit, the Global CLA Summit, where I hope to be, to see you, to receive that hug that you are gathering up for me there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Busy, busy lady, but we need
Yeah.
you to be busy because the world needs absolutely every ounce of fiber that's in you that's going to help
Thank
us
you.
become better people. So thank you again for joining
Appreciate
me
it.
on Company Culture with Yvette C. Owens. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Fran, for your wonderful, wonderful comment. We thank you for joining us. Everyone, please share, and share again this because someone is wondering, how do I show up my
Yeah.
best self, but my most real self? And I think
Mm.
what Juanita has shared, what I've shared today, is going to help them realize, ah, it's not just me. Have a fantastic, fantastic day and enjoy. Remember, it takes each one of us to create a
Yeah.
healthy culture where we all thrive. So thank you so much. Bye bye now.
Thank you.